Last season, the Ducks had some big RFA names between Troy Terry, Lukas Dostal, Jamie Drysdale, Trevor Zegras, and Bo. Things took longer than I think everyone wanted them to when it came to signing contracts, and it had lasting effects that bled into the season. The nice thing this year is that we shouldn't have any arbitration hearings or holdouts, and the players on the list don't really matter that much to the future of the team. And based on how Verbeek deals with RFAs, particularly bottom of the lineup RFAs, I don't think many will be back. I kind of briefly talked about them all in this video, but let's look at each one to see what their future holds, because Pat Verbeek has some decisions to make. Let's start with the only person I'm sure Verbeek will bring back, Jackson LaCombe. LaCombe probably has the most potential left of anyone on the RFA list. He played 71 games in his rookie year, and I know there are a lot of Jackson haters out there, but as a rookie, he wasn't put in a position to excel. From being forced to play on his offside with Cam Fowler for most of the year, which was by far our worst pairing, to finally playing on the left side, being up and down in the lineup. That mostly was due to injuries, but still not ideal. He averaged just 20 minutes of ice time and spent a good amount of that time killing penalties, which in college, he was more known for his offensive game. He showed flashes of what he could do in college, but with no consistency. Like many rookies, he needs to get stronger, as he was easy to push around in front of the net. He is probably at the bottom of the list of our defensive prospects, and it's unclear if he has a long-term future with this team. But he did play on the right side in college, so if he can figure that out, he could very well be in those future plans. Now let's move on to a person I'm most sure won't be brought back, and if he is, Beaker lied about wanting to improve the bottom six. Groulx, who feels like he's been around forever at this point, but just finished his rookie season technically, playing 45 games in a fourth-line role. Bo has always been solid defensively, but a black hole on the offensive side in the NHL. In the AHL, he was actually one of the Groulx's most consistent forwards over the last couple years, but can't seem to figure it out. I personally think I preferred Ross Johnston in the lineup over him, but it didn't really matter either way. With only an empty net goal and 4 assists to his name, he's gone. This will forever be my favorite clip of him, for no reason at all. Another reason for Bo's departure is that Nikita Nesterenko can provide the same, if not better, than what he did. Bo may have the edge defensively, but Nesterenko provides so much more offensive upside. He only played 3 games with the Ducks this year, but had 37 points in 70 games for the Groulx. I think he looked the best out of any forward called up from the Groulx this year, and he seemed to have impressed Beaker in that short span as well. Verbeek made some comment about him remolding his game into a player that fits their system. With Verbeek trading for him, a part of the Klingberg deal, I can't imagine he would give up on him just yet, because then it would look like he failed on his side. Still don't know if he can be a full-time NHLer, but he has the potential still to be, and will compete for a job next summer. Along with Pavol Regenda, who played 5 games for the Ducks this year, but had 34 points in 54 games with the Groulx. And when he was healthy, he was one of the best forwards on the Groulx. In his call-up this year, he could have very much lost his job. He wasn't bad, but he also wasn't great. Nesterenko looked better than him. However, he did play great at Worlds, and showed there was more to his game, from playing on both the power play and the PK at times. He was a brute physically, and if he could bring that to the NHL and keep some of his scoring touch, he could be a perfect fourth-liner. Verbeek found him 2 years ago in a Slovakian league, and again, Verbeek brought him in for a reason, and I can't imagine him cutting ties. Both him and Nestor will be fighting for that same spot, the loser to the Groulx. Another person who could be fighting for a spot, but I don't think will, Brayden Tracey, a former first-round pick of the Ducks in 2019. He has played in 3 straight seasons with the Groulx, and hasn't really improved his game. Some of that wasn't his fault. When he joined the Groulx, they were on a horrid stretch, with inconsistent coaching and players. Maybe with new talent coming in, he could find his game again, but honestly, he probably just needs a fresh start with a new organization to have a chance to make the NHL. He wasn't drafted by Verbeek, so I wouldn't put his chance very high. Verbeek has shown time and time again, if you're not his guy, he'll let you go. So unless Matt McLaughlin saw something in him, he probably will be gone. Just like Blake McLaughlin, who is a former 2018 third-round pick by the Ducks. He has played in 60 AHL games and has just 1 goal to his name, all the way back in 2021. He has been up and down between the Groulx and Toulouse in the ECHL, but at 24 and already can't find consistency in the AHL, it's time to let him go. Now the next 5, I really can't place what Verbeek will do, starting with Gustav Lindström, who was picked off waivers from the Canadiens this past season and played 32 out of a possible 40 games with the Ducks. He made an immediate impact, as the day before he was claimed, Minty went down with a separated shoulder injury, and the Ducks traded away Jamie Drysdale. And I'm sure someone else was hurt too. So they were running thin on the back end, and he provided some quality minutes, playing mostly on the third pair. Granted, I don't really remember his time on the ice that much, and for a bottom-pairing defenseman, that's good. Means he did nothing stupid. Surprisingly, though, he was only behind Gudas in plus-minus for the team. And while plus-minus is meaningless overall, it's still kind of impressive to be a positive on the Ducks. And he was at 0 with the Habs, so he earned it all here. His major attribute is that he has a right-handed shot, and that's something the Ducks lack a lot of. Honestly, though, it wouldn't matter that much if Beaker didn't make it clear that's what he wants to add in free agency. Now, Lindström is not a top 4 defenseman, but Beaker likes players to play on their right side. Verbeek said Leno should play with the Ducks next season, so that means just Leno and Gudas are the righties. Unless they feel Helleson can make the jump, and I did like his game 2 years ago, but if they didn't give him a run this year with all the injuries, I don't think it will be him. There's also the possibility of Noah Warren, but he is making the jump from juniors, and seems to need some seasoning in the AHL first. Of course, Beaker has shown that if you're big, he's willing to give you a shot based on Leno and Minty making the team, and Warren is one of our biggest prospects. That's also not including Ian Moore, who, if I'm remembering right, Beaker said he wanted to get him signed this offseason, and at 22, he could be in the running. But that's a lot of unknowns, so while I wouldn't be shocked if Verbeek doesn't bring him back, I think he does, because they say you can't have too many defensemen. Although, in the Ducks' case, you can have too many left-handed ones, which is why I think Urho Vaakanainen won't be back. And if he is, Lindström probably won't be. Urho has had an unlucky start to his NHL career, from being a first-round pick in 2017 and battling injuries to take 4 times to get his first NHL goal, which he did finally get this year, one of the highlights of the season. Vax averaged over 17 minutes of ice time, and when he was playing with Radko Gudas on his side, they were one of the best shutdown D pairings in the league. He took major steps this year, just because he actually played 68 games. He will never stack up points, but he showed he can be a solid defensive option. Problem is for him, the Ducks have so much talent on the left side that make him easily replaceable. And with Verbeek caring so much about handiness, he should be gone. The one thing playing in his favor is that Verbeek did trade for him in the Lindholm deal. But Lindström also has that pass-Verbeek connection. With him being from the Yzerman background, Verbeek will have to make a choice between Urho and Gustav, or could decide to add depth from free agency, but I think Lindström will be the guy. Now on to the 3 most important players on this list: Isac Lundeström, Max Jones, and Brent Leason. Isac Lundeström is the most expensive player on the list, and you have to wonder if he is worth more than what the other 2 players can provide at less. He recovered well from his off-season Achilles injury. He looked like the same player he has been, solid defensively, rarely in the wrong place or making the wrong decision, and showed he had potential for offense as well, but with no consistency, except when he was on the PK for some reason. At such a young age, he has been asked to play a shutdown role against some of the best lines in the NHL, which does make it hard to provide offense. And maybe, if you put him on the wing, he can show his offensive side more often. If that somehow works, it would also help the long jam of centers. He did impress me at Worlds, more than I have seen for him the last few years. And if we see that Lundy with the Ducks, he might be worth his pay raise. We'll see if Beaker was impressed too. Max Jones at times this season looked like he was finally going to take that jump we have waited for years, but again, was undone by injuries. If he could consistently go to the net and provide a net front presence, he could have a role with this team. The problem is, he doesn't. He is so big and can cause havoc in front, and does have good enough hands to clean up the slop as well. I just don't get it. Besides the locker room aspect, there is no reason to bring him back for the price he's gonna want, especially when Brent Leason does his role better and shoots right for less. Of the players on the list, Leason is the one I want back most. He is a perfect fourth liner, capable of being moved up in the lineup on occasion. With Pat Verbeek looking to improve the team next year, I feel all 3 of Lundeström, Jones, and Leason are kind of vying for the same role. And if it was me, I'd bring back Leason. He is the cheapest and provides basically the same role of the other 2. He is a utility player and can be put anywhere. But I have a feeling, outside of the fact he bought a house in Detroit, that it will be Jones who is brought back, just based on the vibe factor. He has a great locker room presence, and Timmy's best friend. I wouldn't be shocked if almost every single player on the list was brought back, and I also wouldn't be shocked if not a single player is brought back. Verbeek wants to improve, and these are middle-of-the-pack and lower type of players. Do you agree with my list? Let me know in the comments down below. Some other little small news tidbits is that the Ducks have hired an assistant coach to replace Newell Brown to run the power play. 37-year-old Rich Clune, also known as Dickie. And on the outside, it looks like a great hire. He retired playing 2 years ago, and in just a half a season, He improved the Toronto Marlies power play by almost 10%. It's nice to see a new fresh hire. He is younger and should be able to understand the players better. He also has a great success story about overcoming substance abuse and mental health, which is something I'm sure more players deal with than they admit, and it seems like he could be a great role model. So welcome to the team, coach. My next video will be about the draft. I've been kind of waiting, hoping there'd be some more news about who the Ducks would pick because there are too many options, and I didn't want to make a video about like 10 different players, but it's looking like I'm going to have to. So look forward to that. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and go Ducks!
Obviously, you and Cody got up there in the world. What sparked that?
It's just an ongoing battle with him. Every time we fought, he's on the losing end. He's wearing my number in Nashville now, so I tell him I'd rip that jersey off his chest if he was playing, but he wasn't playing. So,
thanks, Rich.
Yeah.